Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting over episode 24 of Kill la Kill. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, the primordial life fiber had been destroyed, the naked soul had been pretty much put out of commission, and the combined forces of Honnouji Academy and Nudist Beach, now with new life fiber uniforms, were preparing to make a raid on Honnouji Academy to destroy the signal transmitter that would activate all the dormant life fibers that everyone around the planet is wearing. So, things aren't going so well initially. The transmitter is heavily protected. And while everyone's doing that, trying to fight and destroy the signal emitter, Ryuko and Satsuki are fighting Nui and Ragyo. So, Nui has since gotten new arms, and Ragyo has her ultimate Kamui, Shinra Koketsu. And interestingly enough, Shinra Koketsu, its power is rather staggering. It caused all the life fibers, I guess, to deactivate. It caused those with regular Goku uniforms to detransform. It caused Satsuki and Ryuko to detransform as well. So, all of the Kamui have like a sort of eye motif, where they appear to have eyes. Shinra Koketsu kind of reminds me of like a butterfly, because butterflies also sometimes have eye-like patterns on their wings. It's very interesting. Well, I guess it sort of makes sense, because butterflies have those eye-like patterns in order to scare off predators, and Shinra Koketsu is sort of paralyzing the other life fibers through fear. So I guess it sort of makes sense. So anyone wearing life fibers is sort of an ineffective combatant at this point. So Tsumugu and Mikisugi could still fight, technically, but they really can't hold much of a torch to a Kamui. Much less a Kamui worn by Ragyo, who is already freakishly powerful. So Ragyo reveals that things aren't nearly as good as everyone thought they were. The primordial life fiber can be remade if it sort of eats everyone. So despite being paralyzed, Gamagori is going to great physical effort to sort of force himself to move. So you get another little nice moment here with Gamagori, sort of hinting at the start of a relationship between Gamagori and Mako. Ultimately, I think this is Trigger just being cheeky, but it's there nonetheless. So, interestingly, everybody's paralyzed. Ryuko has taken off Senket, and she's able to move. Given that she has life fibers woven into her, that means even without a Kamui, she's still able to fight reasonably well. So she's sort of bypassed the absolute submission that Shinra Koketsu invoked. So, Gamagori appears to have bought the farm. Now, interestingly, the absolute submission field that Shinra Koketsu is projecting is sort of the function of Homaru, who I guess is Ragyo's sort of assistant / secretary. She was woven into the Goku uniform. Or excuse me, the Kamui. And so I guess she's sort of powering it by means that aren't really known to us. So interestingly, Senketsu also comes to the realization that he is neither truly human nor life fiber, and is thus able to move. He removes Homaru from Shinra Koketsu, thus freeing everyone and enabling them to fight back. So I guess with this realization of their true power, Ryuko is able to fight on more or less even terms with Ragyo. Of course, the big gaping hole in her chest isn't helping much either, I'd imagine. So in the end, it was just a trick. Gamagori's really alive, and he's come back just in time to try and destroy the transmitter once and for all. So Gamagori's able to tear down the shield, and then Sumugu and Mikisugi sacrifice their DTRs to blow up the transmitter. So, as Satsuki and Ryuko bisect Ragyo with the scissors, it seems like things are finally going in their direction, despite all the odds. But of course, we're only halfway through the episode, so this can't be the end. Ragyo orders Nui to sacrifice herself, and she willingly decapitates herself, and in doing so, it appears she's being absorbed into the nascent primordial life fiber. So she sort of, I guess, merges with it and effectively completes it. So Ragyo is talking this up like it's some great privilege to be an inherent part of the primordial life fiber. So it seems like the end of the world is back on the menu, and Ragyo's transformed her Kamui in similar fashion to Ryuko and Satsuki, and she's blasted off into space to sort of rendezvous with the satellite. So Ragyo's plan is starting to come to fruition. All of the dormant life fibers are waking up, and they're beginning to sort of coat the planet and cover everything. So it's ultimately decided that Ryuko's taking this one alone. But in order to do so, Senketsu is absorbing all of the Goku uniforms and Jinketsu, just absorbing everything, taking all the life fibers into Senketsu, augmenting him further, making him much stronger than he was before. And interestingly, Senketsu, he changes quite a bit. Like, that's to be expected, I suppose. That sort of one eye that had appeared to be sewn shut is popped open. And rather than being black and mostly black and a little red, he's sort of red and yellow all over. Ryuko's also changed in accordance with this. Her hair is now blonde. It's a pretty nice color palette, all things considered. And so she's arrived in space just in time to, I guess, combat Ragyo. So, interestingly enough, Senketsu is sort of taken on some similarities with Shinra Koketsu. It has, I guess, some ancillary bits that almost have like a butterfly wing thing going on, like Shinra Koketsu. Now, at this stage in the game, Ryuko's still not quite on par with Ragyo. Shinra Koketsu is just too powerful, it would seem. So, Ragyo's giving Ryuko a talk about how, like everything basically ends. The world, the sun, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, all that stuff will eventually fall to entropy. Life fibers are a part of that process. And to me, at least, it reminds me of the anti-spiral from Gurren Lagann, and about how their whole thing was preventing the rampant entropy that spiral power has a tendency towards producing. And I guess similar to Gurren Lagann, much like Simon, Ryuko rejects the premise that just because entropy exists, that you automatically must submit to it. I mean, ultimately, the heat death of the universe is a long way off, beyond any of our lifetimes, and very likely beyond the collective lifetime of the human race. So there's really no sense in giving in to despair. So Ryuko's sort of using Senketsu's power to absorb things against Ragyo. He's absorbing parts of Shinra Koketsu. So, in doing so, I suppose Senketsu can use the absolute submission field against Ragyo. So again, mirroring Gurren Lagann, Ryuko declares that nonsense is how we roll. Sort of kick logic to the curb and do the impossible. And sort of with that angry declaration, Ryuko manages to disable, I guess you'd call it the absolute submission field, freeing everybody from the thrall of life fibers and removing the giant life fiber blanket that was coating the planet. So interestingly, after all of that, Ryuko declares that she's going to bring Ragyo back with her rather than kill her. So I guess that's showing some sort of character growth. However, Ragyo is not content to do that. So she offers, I guess, a dire warning saying that more life fibers will come to this planet, and then she tears out her own heart and crushes it, preferring to die rather than return in disgrace. So I guess that's an admirable quality, but... So, interestingly, there's still the problem of Ryuko returning back into Earth. So, Senketsu has a problem here. He's starting to unravel due to the power of Shinra Koketsu. So he needs to get Ryuko back to Earth before that happens. But at the same time, orbital reentry is no mean feat. There's a lot of friction between whatever's entering the Earth and the atmosphere. So, Senketsu is sort of using his body as a shield to protect Ryuko from reentry, and in doing so, he burns himself to ashes. Utterly and totally. So, in a sense, that's one problem solved. Ryuko successfully re-entered the atmosphere, but now she's moving at a high velocity. So in one last act of desperation, Satsuki, Mako, the Elite Four, everybody, they all make a mad dash to catch Ryuko and prevent her from splattering on the ground. Granted, she probably could survive something like that, but, I think it's a nice touch. And now that they're back, the relationship between Satsuki and Ryuko is much more familiar now. And Ryuko even goes as far as to acknowledge Satsuki as her sister, which was something she was unwilling or unable to do before. Alright, well, that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one.